A single mom and full-time teacher from South Bend, Indiana. She's been fired because there's no teacher shortages, but this is because her employer found out about her OnlyFans account. I feel like we've heard stories like this before, but maybe not to this degree and to this level. Her name is Sarah Juree, and she was using this OnlyFans account to support her family and supplement her teacher income. So let's go to details. For about 6 years, Sarah Juree worked full-time as a teacher in South Bend, Indiana, as part of the Department of Defense STARBASE educational program, which introduces grade 5 students to science, technology, engineering, and math, or known as STEM. But the single mother of twins said that she was unable to support her family on the modest salary of $55,000 a year, especially as the cost of living continues to rise in the US. Juree said her rent alone cost nearly half of her income, and her employer didn't offer health insurance. That was another out-of-pocket expense, is what she told Vice. Plus car insurance and groceries and expenses for my kids that just piles up really fast. Now we see that 55,000 number, and I guess people, if you don't see that as a minimal amount, it's because then the taxes, then she pointed out health insurance, her 2 children, rent, crazy. So a friend told Juree that she could make around $10,000 a month with OnlyFans. So she started her account in early June. So by the end of June, she was fired. Details. Her termination letter states that she was let go for, quote, posting inappropriate photos in violation of several STARBASE policies without the consent of the executive director. The letter added that the photos pose a real and immediate risk of harm to the reputation or business dealings of the program. Juree said, though, that she spoke with her boss and a colleague about this whole thing before she even started the account. Here's those details. She said, my boss got really excited and said, yeah, you can start a page. You can make a lot of money. In this part, you can also sell your panties on that page. In my mind, I was like, great, I'm not gonna have any issues with work because my boss literally just told me to sell my panties on OnlyFans. So by the way, her firing is probably more than likely a result of a man from her community coming forward and exposing this whole thing, acting like he wasn't a subscriber, but actually saying that someone else had tipped him off about this whole thing. It was a parent, it wasn't him, it was a concerned parent, not him. So there's those details. Juree said that she was very scared when those blogs started popping up. She said it was humiliating. In those articles, the man wrote about Juree's personal life, included her former husband. He included screenshots of her STARBASE employee page, her Instagram account, as well as her OnlyFans page, and said that Juree moonlights as a porn star. In a Facebook post sharing the article, the man also said all parents should celebrate that this woman was fired. I hope she has plenty of success outside the reach of children. Also, by the way, Vice News was talking about this, and I assume reached out to him, and he decided to rope that journalist into it as well. So shortly after Vice News sent the blogger a detailed list of questions about those allegations he had harassed Juree online with, he proceeded to publish this reporter's email, photograph, and portions of her resume on his blog as well. But this isn't the only case. As I pointed you guys before, this isn't something that just started happening or just now is happening to this one teacher. Anytime something like this happens or some concerned citizen in the community brings this up, other folks have get fired as well too. So last week, a 22-year-old OnlyFans content creator said that she was fired from her nursing job after a colleague watched her content. A 24-year-old mechanic, also in Indiana, was let go from a Honda dealership in 2020 after her managers found out that her coworkers were watching her OnlyFans page. Look at that again. In 2020, she was fired after her managers found out that her coworkers were watching. Okay, and in Canada, a railway conductor lost her job because her Instagram was, quote, too sexy, whatever that is. So as Cenk mentioned before we came into this, we also have a poll. So I'm curious what you guys think about this, specifically with Sarah Juree and the teaching gig, and whether or not she was actually bringing shame to her employers and probably couldn't be around children because the children would run away or, I don't know, start doing nefarious things. What are y'all's thoughts?
Yeah, so you can vote on that at tyt.com/polls. We'll have the link down below in the description box. But I think this one's tougher than you guys probably think it is. But I don't know. Let's find out. But I do know a number of things that are not at all tough. Okay, so let's call out the hypocrites. So first off, concerned parent. I guarantee you that concerned parent wasn't concerned enough not to finish. Okay, how did you stumble upon that account? I wonder. So second of all, okay, this is a teacher, so I think that's an interesting conversation. A railway conductor, what are they getting fired for? Because they're around rails? Okay, the mechanic. Why is the mechanic getting fired? Why is the nurse getting fired? That doesn't make any sense at all, right? And then the boss. Now the boss doesn't say technically you can go do it because that might get him in trouble. But notice what the boss says. Oh yeah, OnlyFans. Oh, you should definitely do that. Okay. Oh, you could sell your panties to anybody. I mean, I'm not saying I'm gonna buy it, but you could sell them to anybody, right? I mean, like, what a random thing to say, by the way, to someone who reports into you. So super uncomfortable all around. But guys, now having said all that, and I got more hypocrisy later to talk about, the kids. I mean, if I was a kid and in junior high, let's say, or high school, and I found out my teacher was on OnlyFans, I would definitely look, okay? And so is that an issue? Is that not an issue? I don't know, I think it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, and I think there's really two layers to this, right? I mean, first is the obvious thing, right? If you don't want your employees to start an OnlyFans page, okay, pay them enough to be alive, right? Pay them enough so that they're comfortable and they can afford their regular stuff, especially healthcare, because seriously, I mean, there's so many layers to that. Just because if you're making $55,000 a year, you're making enough that the means tested programs won't let you have benefits, but you're making so little that you won't be able to cover medical expenses on your own, right? And so that's a terrible situation that just our political environment has created. But then there's a reality of people are sold this idea. If I had to bet money on it, my guess is she probably wasn't making as much money as she thought she would, because a lot of people are sort of oversold the money making potential for things like that. And so a lot of people get roped into this where then they do potentially lose their jobs and they end up not making as much money as they thought they would anyway. And obviously that boss is super creepy, which is just a random aside, straight up. But then it goes to the parents, right? So is it a little bit ill-advised because of what Cenk is pointing out about how obviously the students are gonna Google their teachers and that's just a thing that's gonna happen? Of course it is, that's gonna happen. And will that lead to uncomfortable situations? Yeah, and especially if it was a high school, then all of a sudden it gets a little bit more dicey, doesn't it? But if that is something that you're a school and you're concerned about, you put a morality clause in the employment agreement beforehand, right? You don't after the fact decide, oh wait, you're not allowed to do that, right? And so that really is something that if that is something that you as an employer actually care about, you put morality clauses in employment agreements before the fact and not just arbitrarily decide after the fact.
Yeah. Let's keep it real. The concerned parent is a fan. He's an OnlyFans of her. Let's keep that. I think that's something we can all agree on. But number two, we're talking about the age of the kids. I assume it's 5th grade since that's what was quoted in this article. The kinds of things that she teaches, they're 5th graders. My kid's a 5th grader. He doesn't have access to money to be paying for things online. He doesn't have the search for something like OnlyFans. And if he has been hearing about OnlyFans, the thing is how's he gonna find his teacher? I don't know if her name is Miss, whatever her last name is on OnlyFans. So how hard is it to find this teacher? This guy had to find her because someone exposed her online to him when he wasn't the one looking for her, right? Or he didn't stumble across her himself. It just seems like it was a quick knee jerk, let's go and get rid of her type of move when we didn't really flesh out, is this really something that's gonna be something that can connect to kids? And she did point out in this longer article that I read the full thing from that she said, I have pretty risque conversations when I was on a dating site because I'm a single mother. Are they gonna go find my whatever, I don't know these dating sites, sorry, I'm old too, Cenk. Whatever dating site, and then are they gonna find me there and be like, oh, you're having conversations with men? Because there's many things that your teachers do that you never find out about. And until someone tells you, you just don't know.
Yeah, look, let me double down on a couple of things that that everybody said. Ben made a great point. Probably the most important point of this theory is $55,000 a year for a teacher. And no health care. What are we doing? What are we doing? So I got 2 kids in school. I went to back to school day just last night, and that's where the teachers have us go class to class and tell us what their curriculum is for the year. And that's for my 7th grader. And they're amazing. They're wonderful teachers. They care so much, and they're so smart. And here they are at a public school, busting their ass, giving everything they got. I was amazed by them, right? And all they get is grief. low salaries, the Republicans attacking them 24/7, people calling them groomers. I mean, who can deal with this madness? And then on top of that, they're not allowed to be real people, right? And on the other hand, the allure of OnlyFans. I mean, her friend told her she's making $10,000 a month. That's more than twice her salary. And all she does is post pictures a couple of times a week or a month. That's so easy compared to teaching. One of the teachers had to redo all of the walls because they were falling apart at the school. And God knows, the other one talked about all the school supplies that they bought. We're starving the teachers. And then you wonder why they do OnlyFans or anything else. So that's indisputably true. JR, good point on the 5th grader. Yeah, I mean, that takes, so in that case, in that very particular case of this story, trust me that when people find out that she's on OnlyFans, it's mainly gonna be the concerned parents that are going to check that out and stay long enough to et cetera, not the kids, right? Now, having said all of that though, if they're in high school, I know there isn't any force on earth that could have gotten me to stop from finding out that OnlyFans page and watching. I'm just being honest. I'm being honest, right? So then are we okay with it? Like, nurses deal with everyone, not just kids, right? We can't stop their lives. Mechanics ain't got nothing to do with anything else except their, well, your pervy co-host, how's that for Freudian slip? Co-workers are checking out your pictures, so instead of firing them, I'm gonna fire you. Okay, but for a teacher, they do deal with kids. I just keep getting stuck on that, and I just don't know.
It's understandable, and that's why it became a thing, but case by case, how about that?
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.